And now for 1 minute, Mr. Teresh.
Dear colleagues, when Ursula von der Leyen campaigned in this plenary in 2019 to be elected President of the European Commission, she promised a stronger European Union that provides more prosperity for its citizens. Almost 3 years after that, we see a weaker Europe and more poor Europeans than before. We have millions of Europeans who cannot make it from one month to another due to increase of energy, food and fuel price. One of the main causes of this crisis is von der Leyen's social engineering utopian, unrealistic and non-factual based plan to combat the so-called carbon emissions. And I quote, "Emissions must have a price that changes our behavior," Ursula said in this plenary in 2019. We see now that her objective from the beginning was not to combat carbon emissions, but to change our behavior through higher taxes and higher prices. I urge you therefore to vote against Fit for 55 plan, which will lead to more poverty and it will make EU less competitive on the global market. Thank you.
Every day or so, I wake up with someone in my DM sending me a video clip from Cristian Terhes, and they're like, "Oh, V, have you heard about this guy? Do you know who he is? Is it true that he is a Romanian?" And the answer is yes, I know who he is. He is a Romanian. He has been elected to represent us in the European Parliament, and he has a very interesting life. He studied journalism in California. He got an American education, and because of that, he has a very American way of viewing things that it's quite foreign for the Eastern European, but it resonates a lot with the people at home. Because whenever someone here listens to his speeches, he framed things in a way that is so foreign to the way we make politics here in Eastern Europe, but at the same time, it rings so true. It holds like this deep universal truth that a lot of people just start to sympathize with him, and no one even knows how to tackle him. No one even knows how to contradict with what he is saying. Because like what he is saying, yeah, like higher taxes means you're going to be poor. And the reason they're doing is completely ideological. And the people here get upset. You know, it's like, well, why are they raising taxes? That's not okay. And for example, during the vaccine mandates, his entire campaign focused on the fact that the contracts that the European Union has signed with the pharmaceutical companies were kept top secret. And he made an alliance between the left-leaning and right-leaning politicians in order to make those contracts public and to show exactly what was signed between the European Union and Pfizer. I don't think he managed to do it, but still he got a lot of support for even trying to, because even people who were on the pro-vaccine side and anti-vaccine side were like, well, we need transparency. Why are the contracts secret? Why can't the public see them? Like, how much money were they paid for it? What else does the government say they will do in the future? Like, are we buying more doses in the future? Like, all of those things were classified and people wanted to see what the contracts really are about. So he manages to unite people on the left and the right. He manages to bring new philosophy into the political discourse. And yeah, I genuinely do like the man. I'm looking at Germany, which is one of the richest nations in Europe. And if Germany is going to ask its people to ration gas because the Federal Minister of Economic Affairs and Climate Action urges German citizens to save energy, wants to enforce energy-saving measures by law if necessary, we can't go into winter with a 56% natural gas storage level. So if Germany is taking such drastic measures to deal with the shortage, how do you expect Eastern Europe is going to deal with the shortage? I mean, the European Union is completely detached from the reality on the ground here. They wanted to pass a law where people can't use wood in order to heat their apartments. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, maybe in Germany you can pass that law. But here in Romania, there's a lot of homes that are in the mountains where the temperatures go all the way down to minus 25 degrees. And they don't have any other type of heating. They don't have gas. They don't have electrical heating. The only thing they do is they can get firewood in order to burn the wood. So, like, the European Union is either completely disconnected from the reality on the ground, or they are just sadistic. Telling those people they're not allowed to burn the wood, you're sentenced them to death. I mean, I don't know how you can survive minus 25 degrees Celsius without any source of heating. But, they're not willing to answer that. They're not willing to tell us what they're going to do about that. Another reason why Terhes resonates a lot with people is that almost universally, the people here believe that the expenses and the rising in gas prices is due to Russia. But when he goes out and he quotes von der Leyen's campaign slogans, and it's like, well, we're going to use taxation in order to make everything more expensive, to change people's behavior. People are starting to ask questions. They're starting to look. Did she actually say that? Holy shit, she did. What's happening now? Oh, the prices are rising. Oh, now they're passing more legislation to rise prices even higher. I don't know how I'm going to pay for my heating next month, but apparently the politicians are voting that I will pay even more. And a lot of people, believe it or not, they actually do start doing the research, and they find out stuff like, oh, the European Union wants to tax cows and to limit the number of cows available. So now the price of meat, which is already high, is going to get even higher. It's almost as the people at the European Union are taking advantage of the crisis, and instead of trying to make the economy back the way it used to be before the pandemic, instead of trying to address the issues of the public, they're actively trying to make them worse. And people here in Eastern Europe, they know this tactic to be employed by other dictators who we had in the past not too long ago, and it's a tactic to impoverish the population, because poor people are easier to control. It's very difficult to control a country that has a strong middle class which can fight back against authoritarian bullshit. But when you make people dependent on you, when they're so poor that they can't hire a lawyer to sue the government, well, all of a sudden they're a lot easier to control and a lot easier to manage. And finally, I'll end this video with a quote from Christian Terhes. When you know everything there is to know about your government, that's transparency and that's democracy. When the government knows everything there is to know about you, that's tyranny. And I think that quote actually resonated with a lot of people because I seen the speech go viral. I don't know who writes his speeches, but I genuinely think it's himself, given the fact that consistently he had these talking points even when speaking with journalists off the cuff and not having any papers to read from. I don't think he may actually write his own speeches. So yeah, I do know who the guy is. I am aware. You don't have to show me DMs with videos from him because I do subscribe to his Facebook page and I do listen to what he has to say. And yeah, I hope that this European Green New Deal doesn't pass. There's a lot of politicians that are against it. But even if it doesn't pass, we're still talking about the European Union. And a lot of people don't understand how it's supposed to work. It's not a democratic institution. See, you vote for people to go to the European Union to represent you, but they're not the ones that actually make the legislation. They just get to vote yes or no on the particular piece of paper. And if the legislation doesn't pass, the EU just tinkers with it a little bit and then puts it back for a vote again. And they repeat this process as many times as is necessary until the vote is yes, and then they never vote on it again. So they can put this Green New Deal like 50 times as necessary, and if it passes the 51st time, then that's it. It's made into legislation. They never get to vote on it again. They never have the ability to repeal it. So that's the European Union. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.